Welcome to my midweek message for April 22nd, 2020. I'm Jim Hopwood, pastor of Edgerton United Methodist Church in Edgerton, Kansas. And I warn you, this message is going to be all over the map, so hang on. First, a big thanks to Reuben Sines Jr., our bishop, for providing a sermon video for preachers last Sunday. We got the week off, or the weekend off anyway, and I really needed the break. I turned my head off for most of one day. That's not being lazy, by the way, that's being healthy. I highly recommend it. Try it sometime. Today is Earth Day. That's when we pause to celebrate our successes and bemoan our failures in tending to our planet the way God commanded us to do. We've really had very little to celebrate in the last several years. Right after the first Earth Day 50 years ago, scientists began warning about a coming catastrophe. Today, it's the official policy of the United States government to ignore and suppress all science regarding global warming. We only have a few years left to flatten the curve of warming, and if we don't, the worldwide devastation wrought by the coronavirus pandemic will be mild by comparison. And you may note that the same people who called the coronavirus a hoax also call global warming a hoax. And you know why? There's big money to be made today. Who cares about tomorrow? And this whole business of Earth Day is not about tree hugging, trees are kind of scratchy. It's really about human life and loving people. So do something today to improve our earth, whether it's pulling up a weed or planting a flower. The governor's stay-at-home order expires May 3rd, so some folks are thinking that maybe churches might start to reopen on May 10th. Don't count on it. Life cannot return to normal until we get a lot more testing kits, and that won't happen soon because of White House politics. Our governor's a Democrat, I wish we could reopen with a big party, but that's pretty doubtful. It appears that we'll likely do a series of soft openings with tight restrictions at first and gradually relaxing the rules of engagement. A federal judge did allow some Kansas churches to meet if they really insist on meeting, but he also imposed 24 tough restrictions on them, and some of those restrictions will follow for a while too. No handshaking, wash your hands a lot, maybe no bulletins, who knows. And yes, we can celebrate communion if we follow certain strict rules. What other things, I wonder, should we start doing differently, and for how long? Maybe this is a good time to reevaluate everything we do. Remember the United Methodist Church campaign of several years ago called Rethink Church? I don't think anybody really rethought much of anything back then. Like trying to cope during a pandemic, trying to rethink church really makes your brain hurt. But maybe the pain will be worth it. Maybe we should rethink how we do everything from top to bottom. To those churches that continue to meet despite the virus, I ask, does exposing someone to catching the virus count as a notch on your evangelism gun? The pastor of one of those churches points to Hebrews 10:25, which cautions us against neglecting to meet together. Well, what about meeting during a snowstorm or a hurricane or a tornado? Can't we neglect to meet then? And who made Hebrews 10:25 a legal requirement? Rigid interpretations such as this one are one of the reasons that millions of people are fleeing the church. Grandson Theo went to church on Sunday. That is, while watching the service on TV from home, he got to see himself sitting in a pew at the church. One of the pastors at First United Methodist Church in Omaha blew up photos of people in the congregation and fastened them to the seat backs of pews. And Theo thought it was pretty cool that he could be there without actually being there. A priest in Italy started this trend several weeks ago. A lot of other pastors picked up the idea. Wasn't very long before one person complained, "Hey, there's somebody sitting in my seat." A clergy friend posted a photo of him preaching on a TV set to a crowd of Cabbage Patch dolls. Great stuff altogether. Linda and I put up a little free library several years ago. It stands near a school bus stop and it usually gets a lot of traffic. It looked like nobody had touched anything in there for a week or two, so we decided maybe it was time to close it for the duration of social distancing. I removed all the books, but I forgot to put up a closed sign. When I went out the next day to put up the sign, the library was full again. I guess that means we're still open, maybe by popular demand. Sad news from Hutchinson, where Linda's sister and her husband live. One of the delights of downtown Hutch, for me anyway, has always been Bluebird Books and Cafe. I rarely missed shopping there when we visited. Imagine, going into a real bookstore where you can stroll down the aisles and look at real books. Now, this store had been struggling for some time, even before the coronavirus. And after social distancing became a requirement, it was just barely hanging on by selling baked goods and actually giving a lot of them away to kids who were idle. And then one morning, the oven quit. That's the end of the road. I mourn that loss. It's interesting how metaphors change. According to one post I saw on Facebook, we're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. That is, the pandemic affects us all, but not all in the same way. But according to another post I saw on Facebook, we're all in the same boat. We're just not in the same storm. Same meaning as before. Either way, I think I prefer to be on shore. Every time political shenanigans shut down the government, you hear somebody grouse that if only essential employees are working, there must be a whole lot of non-essential employees in government. And now with all the anti-quarantine rallies, you see signs that say all employees are essential, all jobs are essential. Yeah, bumper sticker complaints change at whim, and you really worry about the substance in any of them, don't you? Majority of essential workers these days, by the way, are female, surveys find. Male or female, they're almost all underpaid, undervalued, and overworked. Do you think we'll fix that after the crisis passes, or will we just go back to normal? Have you noticed that all the signs at those anti-quarantine rallies sound grandly patriotic at first, but when you stop to think about them, the meaning evaporates? Freedom over fear is one of those slogans you see a lot. I'm not afraid. I am being careful. I'm being careful the same way I'm careful when I change an electrical outlet or I'm driving in bad weather on a crowded interstate or something like that. That's care. That's not fear. People who drive drunk value freedom over fear. So do people who use cocaine or do other stupid things. I don't see that as a virtue. There are proper limits to freedom. Check out Galatians 5:13 through 15, especially in the Message version of it. Don't use your freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want. Rather, use it as a motivation to serve one another in love. And if you're not doing that, what are you doing? Well, that's it for now. See you next time.